Good morning, Cleveland. How are we doing this morning? Yes. Welcome you guys to the day. It's got to come around the MLB. Make some noise right now if you are ready for the happiest 5K. Where my Indian fans at? Cleveland Indian fans, where we at? Yes, we are here at your home. And thank you guys for such a comfortable. It's a free pair. I'm not going to make everyone happy here today, so I'm ooh, good snag there. Right upfield. Mascots here, we're looking good. Let's try to get as close as we can. I know it's a little you guys know anyway, you will after, so let's pack it in. Let's see. 3 pairs of shorts coming. Sorry, let's try that again. Another 3, there we go. There we go. Yes. Front to the back, and if you're in the back, you're not worried. You guys will be here soon enough. Okay, for you guys to go, and we will let you guys go, and we are ready. Couple of rules before we start the 5K. Prove someone wrong here today. You're going to stay as you guys move to the right side. If you were doing walking, side for me, please. So we can start shuffling around now so people don't get in each other's ways. I don't need anybody ruining a PR today. Make some noise right now. Make some noise. I'm going to ask you guys to right now. Find somebody you don't know, give them a high five. You guys are all experiencing the 5K together for the first time. If this is your second or more year, raise your hand, make some noise. Give them a high five right now. You guys are back. You guys know what this is all about. However, you guys do not know what an MLB All-Star 5K is like. You guys are going to be running through this beautiful city of Cleveland, passing all the historical sites on the way to the finish in Public Square. Thousands of pounds of cars. The brightest day we can here in Cleveland. Browns fans, where we at? We got some Browns fans? This is the year, right? Is this the year? You guys got OBJ now doing his thing out here. Awesome. It's going to be good. I'm from Detroit, so the Lions are good, so you know. Mosey my way around and find a team this. There we go. There we go. Nice snap. There we go. I see people like that. Don't worry. There we go. Be colored from head to toe. If you ain't ready for the 5K, make some noise right. Trying to get some rain down. Let's see. Is anybody not from Cleveland here that's here with us? Make some noise, everybody. We got some visitors, yes, that are visiting the game and decided to join us. Awesome. All right, you guys. Before we do the national anthem, I want to introduce a very special singer. Can you guys hear me all right? Everyone make some noise for our friend Carol over here. was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 15 years old. She had to be taken out of school for a She stayed in the hospital. After the summer of 2016, she went back to school as a junior and she started getting treatment once a month. Chemo treatment in January of 2018 and graduated high school. She is now a sophomore at Kent State University, and she is our color run hero and also our singer. Keep it going. Thank you so much. You guys, you are less than many as you continue to fight, and everyone who is fighting as well, continue to fight. The sun will rise and we will try. You guys, you're going to have to be a 5K. Make some noise. You're going to stand to the right, and if you are doing anything else, I'm going to ask you to move to the left. I just want to make sure we are ready to go. Alright, let's see, let's try this game. Simon says touch your nose. Simon says touch your shoulder. You're supposed to ask first, but it's okay. Simon says put your hand up. Simon says put your other hand up. Simon says we're going to do the wave from the front to the back. 3, 2, 1, wave. Keep it going. Yes, yes, we're doing great. We're looking good. Simon says put your hand up again. And wave it like you just did. You guys are all out. Every single one of you. All of you guys are all out. My goodness, Cleveland. I know it's early, but come on. Let's see. Let's see down here. There we go. Everyone be nice to each other. It's just color out here. We don't want to get them fights out here. Let's see, we want some socks. Anyone want some fun socks here? Yes, right there. Good grab. Yes, let's see. Simon says put your hand back up. Simon says put it to the right. Stretch to the right. Simon says stretch to the left. Simon says put both hands up and scream. Alright, you guys are doing great. Alright, now make some noise if someone dragged you out of bed this morning to be here. Yep, the girlfriend was like, hey, listen, we got something to do on Sunday morning. I know the baseball games this week. You're going to do something for me, right? If you came here with the person that you love, make some noise. Yes. You guys are here with your best friends, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, whichever. Thank you guys for bringing the love and continuing to spread the love here with the color on. I got more t-shirts here. I got more t-shirts here. Don't worry. Let's see. I'm looking. I want to get someone in the back. I know. I see you guys back there. I know. You guys been patient. Oh, good grab. Good grab. It is hot today, Cleveland. It's hot up here. Got some arm warmers. You need some arm warmers. I mean, that's the last thing maybe you need here today. Alright, you guys are about to go. And what I need for you guys to do is count it down with me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go! Public square, from the head to toe. Yes. And we will see you guys at the finish line at Public Square. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. I see you guys. Yes, let's have some energy this morning. Everyone's kind of just walking up here. There we go. Boys, I know you guys were waiting for a bit, but we're doing good. Yes. How we doing today, Cleveland? Right? Being from Michigan, that kind of just gave me like chills. I know. I was scared to come here too. Don't worry. Let's pack it in a little more. Let's try to get as close as we can to the blue line so we can get as many people out as we can. So we can get all of you guys before the real party starts. Who wants an arm warmer here? Let's do it. That's right there for somebody. Oh, I got some headbands. Keep it going. Keep making the noise. Here we go. Yep. In the face. I'm sorry. Who else wants one? Here we go. Who's been here before to the color sunrise? You guys been here before? Yes, you guys are all here, and I hope you guys have an experience you guys will never forget. You guys will continue to come back and hang out with us for years to come. Also, we got here in Cleveland, it's been crazy non-stop. Let's see, I got some more headbands here. Yes. Here, you do not work. Here we go. Let's see. We got some more arm warmers here. Awesome. Here we go. Let's see what else we have. Anyone forget their sunglasses here today? Anybody forget their sunglasses? Let's see. Got their hands up. I've never seen this. It's a arm wrap. Who wants this thing? Here we go. That guys. You guys are about to go, and you guys are gonna. Right? You guys at the finish line at Public Square. Enjoy yourselves. Stay colorful, my friends, and have a great We will see you guys on the finish line. I cover shit what I got. Time before free swag to get out to you guys. Doing good? Yes, you guys have been patient. I said I would. There we go. Let's pack it in as much as we can. I know it's hot. Your name smells, but it's okay. We're all going to be colorful and smelly by the end of this. Who needs the freshest Ray-Ban? Got some arm warmers for you guys here.
How much more do you think I should stream?
Here in Cleveland, Ohio.
So going up. Okay, we'll be live.
Good. Let's see. Let's see. Who else? Everybody down here? Let's see. Snack and burn. Let's see. What's in here? What's in here? I got a stuffed cup here. You guys know what a stuffed cup? Stuffed cup's where you can put all your things, meaning your stuff, and you can cup it. So who needs one of these? I'm a pretty good singer. Let's see. I'm gonna throw a big handful of your heads up. Oh, well, all those guys get all this free stuff. Here we go. Let's see. Anybody else? Bring some sunglasses. We're going deep with these.
Lindsay, never mind.
We want to go the route?
Fair. You guys are going to be running through 4 if you are yes, you guys are going to be running behind all the major. I lost on that. Will cover you from head to toe. Orange for the Browns. Right? You're winning the division, yes. We'll start winning the division. We'll go straight to Super Bowl. Hopefully, that's the goal. Next year we come back. Maybe I could say Super Bowl champions, Cleveland Browns. That'd be pretty tight. Let's see. I gotta go get some more shorts. Who wants a pair of shorts right now? Anybody? I got it now. That's up. Here we go. We're not coming. Here we go. Yes.
I just want to see if they want to go back. Alright. We're out.
Alright, brand new box.
All right, we are getting ready to follow these runners.
Let's wake up a little here.
Gabe, we're going to figure it out as we go.
Let's try to get them some shorts. Let's see. Right there. Yeah, good catch. Let's see. Right there. Good. Snag that. And
I wish it wasn't.
They're on Facebook.
And if you are walking,
They're going to be live on
make sure you
Facebook.
scan to the left. You guys are
They're going to be live on Facebook.
We are live on Facebook.
Awesome. Can I just undo myself real quick?
Enjoy yourself, have fun. You also go out, stay safe, and we will see you guys at the public square.
Good to go.
You ready?
Let's go.
And the party will begin. And you will say,
Hey, Lindsay.
Make sure he's going to recover head to toe, and then he's going to get cleaned up with OxyClean, and then he's going to give us a clean
gonna see if you can you like do the live stream as just kind of hold it
Yep.
for a second.
Yell at me if I'm crowding too fast.
Oh, that's an awesome outfit. It's an awesome outfit. Hey, everybody. Look at those socks.
Sorry. I'll let you in if I can ride.
You're doing great.
You started.
I gotta film with my other camera in a minute.
Here. Austin, you just maybe stop it?
You gonna?
Yep. I'll put it on my mouth.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. All right.
Look it. Woo! We did it today.
Hey there.
Live on a beautiful Sunday morning in Cleveland. We got an uphill start, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's All-Star Week, it's the color run, and it's me, the OxyClean guy, running in 5K. And this, your shirt's filthy. Come on, let's go, pick up the pace. Come on, shoulders back.
OxyClean!
OxyClean coming through. Out the way. Old OxyClean guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cleveland, we love you. It's not clean unless it's OxyClean.
So the orange station is on the right.
That would be great, Austin. Well, I need. I'm gonna use this as my tripod.
You know I dealt with you the nicest. Nobody does me in a rush. Nobody takes me in a crisis. I believed all of your dreams are duration. You took my heart, all my keys, and my patience. You took my heart, I must leave a decoration. You sticking with love, I brought for you for foundation. All that I wanted from you was to give me something that I never had, something that you never seen, something that you never been. But I wake up and nothing's wrong. Just get ready for work. To me, I be work. You see me do me da. That's Tell me about that work. Na 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 na. When you walk out, na. Before the day was turn. Beg you something, please. Baby, don't you leave. Don't leave me stuck here in the streets. If I get another chance to, I will never neglect you. I mean, who am I to hold your best against you? I just hope that it gets to you. I hope that you see this through. I hope that you see this true. What can I say? Please recognize I'm trying, baby. They send me up there. You see me coming.
Lift up your arm. Close your eyes. Oh, you got color. Wow, you're not messing around. Yep.
All right. Here we go.
You guys doing okay?
1 second here. 1 second. It's hard to do this with a cell phone. Alrighty. I'm sorry. Oh, look at he's got there he is. So where does this go to?
We're gonna go up past like Playboy Park.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Austin. Can we stop here? Thanks, bro. All right, a little pink.
But it's out of my control. We left in the dust. As I stuck by you, you're the sunflower. I think you love me too much. But you be left in the dust. As I stuck by you, you're the sunflower.
Right here.
Hey guys, set your empties up top.
There.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a shoe. Free tie-dye!
I think I'm good with the live. I don't have to do the whole thing. I have 10% battery. How much further do you think until the end of it?
Well, it's public square, so we can go back and go towards public square.
Is that the end?
Yeah.
Where are they all going?
Like down by the ballpark and stuff. Loop around by the
Oh, all that? Okay.
So we can go to public square.
You want to go to public square? The end? The actual finish line? All right, let's do it. You think that we'll have any winners yet? Any finishers? Okay.
So, you know what? It's 8:42, so our hit is at 9.
Let me just go back. We're live from the finish line.
Okay, let's go down to the finish line. We're going to take it back to 9:55.
All right, everybody. Wisconsin. All right, everybody, we are making our way back to the finish line. See if we have any winners at the moment. It's nice to have the whole city all open to yourself, isn't it? It's something you never see. Don't got to worry about any of the lights. It's quite the cruise. Oh, it looks like we do have some winners. It's to wash them off. This is perfect. Yeah, this is fine. Right here. Alrighty. I would say right where it says happiest 5K. You don't have that in the background. And here we go, the finish line, everybody. Everyone's getting all bubbly. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us for the All-Star 5K run. We hope you join us next